Okay, so just come to a comfortable seat, either cross-legged or to your shins, or if you prefer to lay down as well, you can come to lay down, whatever feels most comfortable to begin with. So thanks again for coming, it's really nice to see you all. We're going to do a practice today, just focusing on bringing a steadiness and a sense of ease. Yin Yoga really does bring that to us because we have to find a place where we can really rest and allow ourselves to drop deeper, to become more still and calm. And that's a very strong focus in Yin Yoga. And I wanted to pull that theme out just to really go into that steadiness and that easefulness and finding the comfort in each shape that we're moving through. And as we start to cultivate and really focus and hone in on these qualities that practicing yoga brings us, it allows us to take these changes and modifications that we do to our bodies on the mat really into our lives, and we start to build this sense of easefulness and steadiness and stability in any situation that arises. And we start to see that we become this center, we become the higher self, we become the seer, rather than feeling like we're pulled about in all different directions. We become very centered and start to acknowledge and witness, and there's not so much movement and there's not so much discomfort. We still feel these pulls, and we still feel this discomfort in what's given to us in different situations, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all different aspects. But we slowly start to see that by practicing this steadiness and this ease, this Sthira and Sukham, we can really start to build this into our everyday lives, and we're not so pulled away, we're not so lost. We keep our solid foundations and we keep that central point of the witness, which is ultimately what we're trying to do through the practice of yoga, is find that stability and that solidness within ourselves. So I just wanted to bring that to practice today so that we can really start to hone in on that aspect of Yin Yoga in particular. So we're going to actually start from a reclined position. So if you want to come over onto your back, I'm going to move through a twist. So just coming into about the middle of the mat, and then you can hold on to the backs of the legs. Keep the chin tucked into the chest and let yourself slowly roll down so we feel nice length through the whole of the spine. And then when you get down, keep that length in the back of the neck by gently pulling the chin to the chest. And you start to walk your feet in. And then feeling a nice lengthening down into the tailbone, maybe find a little bit more space in the back of the waist, and really planting and spreading the shoulder blades so we feel nice and wide through the upper back. And then we can gently bring the knees into the chest, giving the knees a nice squeeze and a hug, just so the tailbone lifts and we feel a nice compression through the abdomen. Trying to find relaxation through the shoulders, through the arms. And then we can take the legs out to a tabletop position, and the arms are going to come out to a T shape. Just finding as much space through the arms, through the spine, and a gentle engagement into the core. Take a nice deep breath in. As we exhale, we're going to let the legs go just halfway, double stack to the left. And then as we inhale, slowly come back up through center. And as we exhale, halfway over to the right, keeping the legs stacked. Inhale back through to center, and exhale over to the left, a little bit further over, not all the way down, and then inhale back to center. Following the same on the right side, exhaling, twist in. It's a little bit lower, keeping the shoulders down. Inhale, center, and then as you exhale, we're going to come all the way over to the left and allow ourselves to plant down here. You can take the left hand onto the top of the right thigh and just stretching and opening through that right arm, that right shoulder blade, so you feel that you can really plug down through the body here. So I'm going to add a little bit of movement throughout practice today. So just bringing a bit of dynamic movement helps the body to then get a bit deeper into the stretch, into the shape. And then ultimately we will want to find as much stillness in the posture as we can. So it might be nice if you haven't already to shut down through the eyes. Just making any final modifications on this left side. Maybe it might be nice to look over the right shoulder if that brings a nice stretch into your neck. You can work from here. So also finding stability in the breath. We want to breathe a nice even ratio through the breath, so a 1-to-1 ratio. And encouraging you to breathe about 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. And you don't have to specifically count the breath, just intuit the ratio. So it feels even, it feels quite slow, quite rhythmic, natural. You're not forcing the breath, smooth and effortless. But by keeping an equal ratio, we're allowing a stability to the breath, to the body, and to the pose. So taking the breath into the belly, the abdomen, rising as you inhale, really feel a nice expansion through the abdominal muscles. And as you exhale, just focusing on pulling the navel back to the spine. We're just taking about another 4 rounds of breath here. No need to rush or quicken the breath, just keeping in that nice steady pace. So after your next round of breath, you can release your left hand down, take an inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to bring the legs back up to center, squeezing the navel back to the spine. Just take a moment to realign the spine, maybe bring the knees into the chest or lift your head, neck, shoulders off of the mat, just to find a nice stretch through the spine. And then we can take the legs back out to a tabletop position, inhaling, and as you exhale, we can go to the right side this time. Just allowing the legs to drop to the side, taking the right hand to the top of the left knee this time, just to help you plug the legs down, and then shifting over through the left shoulder, the left arm, to take up a nice bit of space and really plant yourself down into the earth. And then again, finding that stable breath, 4 in, 4 out. Breathing all the way down into the belly. So making any modifications, any movements, any adjustments. Maybe looking over your left shoulder this time. And just finding a way to then find that still point in the mind, in the body, releasing any fidgeting at all, even down to the movement of the eyes. Just becoming aware of the breath moving the body. Really focusing on the navel center. So the more that we can really stabilize our breath, stabilize the mind on the breath, find stillness in each shape, the more we can start to bring awareness into the seer, into the observer. So we start to witness the fluctuations of the mind. We start to witness involuntary movements in the body. We start to witness where we hold or grip. And we really do find that higher connection to our higher self, to that sense of bliss and peace when we find that still point. And this is why holding postures and moving through asana is a way to then cultivate that stillness so we can start moving higher up into meditation. We're just here for 2 more breath cycles. And then on the end of your next inhale, you're going to squeeze the core, and as you exhale, you can slowly start to bring yourself back to center, realigning, bringing the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice squeeze and a hug. Maybe some back rolls if that feels nice. And then we're going to make our way over onto all fours. So you can either rock yourself up the spine or roll to the side and come up onto all fours that way. So finding a stable base through your hands, through your knees, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Taking a nice wide stance through the body and a little bend into the elbows just so you feel nice and supported here. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, we're going to tuck the toes under and then gently lift up through the knees, push up through the hips and send your body weight back into the tailbone. Keep a little bend into the knees. Try to roll the biceps away from the ears as you come into your down dog. Take a breath here, and as we exhale, we can bring the knees down to the floor. Untuck the toes. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, shift yourself back into a child's pose. Stretching out through the arms. Take an inhale here. And then on your next inhale, coming back up onto all fours. Tuck in the toes, and as you exhale, pushing up into down dog. Keeping that softness through the knees again. Push the weight all the way back through the spine to the tailbone, keeping chin tucked to chest. Shoulders are away from the ears. Take a breath here. As we exhale, we can drop down to the knees. Take an inhale in your tabletop. And as you exhale, sit back one last time to child's pose. Take a stretch through the arms. With your next inhale, slowly coming back up onto all fours. We're going to stay in down dog this time. So as you exhale, tucking toes under, slowly pushing yourself up and back to come into down dog. So again, if it feels nice for you to keep a little bend into the knee, that's perfect. We're working to lengthen the spine and find stability through the spine. So just finding as much pushing back from the hands as you can. Push all the weight back through the shoulders into the tailbone. We want to lift the tailbone up nice and high. Take up as much space through the arms and legs as you need. And we'll breathe in here. So come back to that stable breath. In for 4, out for 4. Keeping the back of the neck nice and long. Have a gentle tuck of the chin toward the chest. Find your stability, and you can close the eyes down if that feels nice. Just noticing how the body wants to move or fidget or change position. And try to find that still point. Focus on the breath. We're just here for about another 5 cycles of breath. Keeping a nice, even, balanced breath, effortless. Keep the weight pushing back from the hands up into the tailbone so we get that length as much as we can through the spine. From here, we're taking one more round of breath. And then on your next inhale, you can start to tiptoe yourself up to the top of your mat until you come into your forward fold. We're going to pause here. Just taking hold of the arms or releasing the hands down by the feet. You can let the body just hang here for a moment. And then either fingertips to the floor or fingertips and hands to the shins. As we inhale, we're going to come to a flat back. Keep looking at the floor, long neck. And as we exhale, folding forward. Keep a bend in the knees if that helps. Inhale, long spine, flat back, lifting up. Halfway as you exhale, fold forward. 2 more times. Inhale, flat back, halfway lift, chin to chest. Exhale, fold forward, compress belly to thighs. Keep a little bend into the knees. Last one, inhale, lengthen the spine, halfway. Exhale, fold forward. So you can either hold on to the backs of the heels or the calves, or you can bring your hands to the floor, either side of your feet. Just finding a position that feels nice. Keeping the chin tucked towards your chest, lengthen the back of the neck, and let the skull edge towards the floor. The backs of the legs will gently open, but focusing on the breath. Nice deep belly breath. And as you exhale, pulling the belly button back to the spine. Keep the stable, rhythmic breath. Try to reduce any fidgeting, any movement. Let your body open into the shape. Try to release any effort. Find the steadiness and the comfort in the shape. Breathe all the way into the belly. We can access the lower lobes of the lungs in this forward fold. So allow yourself to breathe fully and deeply. Just here for another 5 rounds of breath. After your next round of breath, we can slowly, on an inhale, step back into down dog. And as you exhale, drop the knees down to the floor, start to walk your hands back towards you to come to sit onto your heels in hero pose. Just take a moment to realign the spine, to absorb the pose. You can close down through the eyes. Feel the effects of the pose. Feel the luminosity of the mind. The stability and ease of the mind, which is your natural state of being. Just one more round of breath. Well done. And then slowly from here, we're going to make our way into a wide leg shape. If you know that your pelvis slightly tips back, just take a blanket to the back of your mat, and we can take a seat round. So just spin the legs round. You can take the feet out to the sides. Just come into whichever position feels good. So if the legs feel a little bit more comfortable here, we can work there, or if it feels more comfortable a little bit wider, just take in as wide a stance through the legs as feels good. And stack yourself as high as you need to in the seat, so the pelvis feels like it's almost tilting a little bit further forward rather than rolling backwards. So we want to keep a nice lifted and long spine. So we're going to do a twist both sides, and then we're going to work to fold forward. So first of all, we're going to start with a twist toward the right side. I'm going to mirror what you're doing. So we can just find the length in the spine first. Keep the chin tucked in toward the chest. Take a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, lead with the collarbones and the heart center and turn to face your right leg. And then you can slowly start to walk the hands round either side. And then once you feel comfortable enough, you can take your right hand behind you and take your left hand to the outside of your left thigh. If that feels too strong, you can also keep your hands either side of the leg. If you can work into twist a little bit deeper, you can maybe turn through the head, neck, shoulders, and feel the twist is coming right from the navel center and turning the upper back. So again, we want to keep the breath in the belly and finding that 4-4 breath. Or if you can go a little bit slow with the breath, you might like it to take it to a 6-6 count or thereabouts. So the longer the breath, the more stable, the more calming. 4-4 is nice to begin with, but if you want to find a more calming effect, you can start to elongate the breath. So twisting helps to find equilibrium in the spine and also helping to balance both masculine and feminine energies in the body and in the mind. So a really good way of bringing stability into the body, into our emotions and mental formations, is to twist. We're here for about another 45 seconds. So keeping the spine as long as you can, the chest as open as you can, and really working the back muscles to help you twist and turn, and also the abdomen. Really squeezing into the core as you exhale to help you turn, but finding a still point. So come into the twist as far as you can and then pause. I'm just here for one more round of breath on this side. And then in the next inhale, you can slowly de-rotate, take your time to come back through to center and pause in center. Just feel each side of the body. Take another inhale, lengthen the spine, open the chest, and as you exhale, you can start to turn to the left side. So turn and lead with the heart space, twist and open through the central channel. And then if it feels good, you can start to take your left hand behind the spine and your right hand to the side of the leg. Turn from the navel center as you exhale the breath out and feel a deeper twist coming through the upper back. Work your back muscles to help you turn and the core, and then find that still point, come into stillness. Here for 2 minutes, allow yourself to pause in the steadiness, the ease. Become the witness of your mind. Fluctuations in the thoughts. Become the witness of any changes physically, any involuntary movement. Find that balanced breath. Just coming through your last minute. So the more we can practice staying steady and easeful and really witnessing how the mind fluctuates and how the mind brings up thought forms that are lower in vibration. We maybe find that I can't do this, or this is too much, I don't like it. The mind starts to play upon us. And the more we can really sit and work through that, that's where the gold is, and that's where we're going to really shift in current and everyday situations. We can start to become the manager of the mind. The mind is not then managing us. The mind is our servant. And we can start to really power through and hold steady, hold strong, hold firm, but find comfort. And we feel that the mind is then not overtaking us. It's not controlling us. We're using it to leverage us to where we need to be. Nice, so just taking your last round of breath here. And with your next inhale, slowly de-rotate, come back through center. Just find a moment to pause. And then we're going to fold and hinge from the hips from here. So you might like to just pad your hands forward and come to a straight arm position, just a gentle forward fold. Or if you can start to take your hands further forward, maybe come down onto your forearms, or you might even want to use some bricks or a bolster to rest your forearms onto. We can maybe even come lower down so that we're almost, the chest is coming toward the floor. Just find whichever position is feeling good for you. And then we're pausing here. You can relax all effort in the legs. Focus on belly breathing, nice deep abdominal breath. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is basically like the holy grail of yoga, and he wrote a sort of guidebook to how yoga is performed and the science of yoga in his sutras, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And he speaks about Sthira, Sukham, Asanam. Sthira is steady or stable. Sukham is comfortable or pleasant. Asanam is posture or presence, sitting without interruption. So that means asana is steady, comfortable posture. And I'm just going to read you a little quote through the next 2 minutes of the pose here. Asana means the posture that brings comfort and steadiness. Any pose that brings this comfort and steadiness is an asana. If you can access one pose, that is enough. It may sound easy, but in how many poses are we really comfortable and steady? As soon as we sit in a particular position, there is a small cramp here, a tiny pain there. We have to move this way and that. Continuously, we're reminded of our legs, hands, hips, and spine. Unless the body is perfectly healthy and free from all toxins and tensions, a comfortable pose is not easily obtained. Physical and mental toxins create stiffness and tension. Anything that makes us stiff can also break us. Only if we are supple will we never break. That reminds me of a conversation between a weed and a big tree. Both grew on the bank of a swiftly running jungle river. And one day the tree looked down at the tiny weed and said, "Hey, you puny little creature, why do you stand near me? Aren't you ashamed to be by my side? See how great, how big, how tall I am, how sturdy and strong. Even an elephant cannot move me, but look at you. Ha! You shouldn't have come here. People will see the difference and laugh at you. Why don't you move somewhere else?" The weed bent its head. "Tree," the weed said, "what can I do? I didn't come here purposely. I just happened to be here. I know I'm not as strong and stiff as you, but please pardon my presence. All right, boomed the big tree, but just remember your place. This conversation happened during the rainy season, and the very next day a heavy rain came, inundating the jungle and causing a terrible flood. When a river floods, it erodes the banks and pulls down anything in its way. Coming in such force, the water pulled down the great tree instantly, but the weed bent down, flattened itself completely, and let the water run over it. When the flood passed, the weed rose up again, looking this way and that. It wondered, what happened to the great tree? I don't see it. From far away, it heard the trees reply, I'm being pulled down the water. I should have been humble and simple and supple like you. Now I'm being destroyed. So just taking your last round of breath in. And then take your time to slowly press yourself up to a lifted position. Take a moment to pause. And then we can use one hand behind one back of the knee at a time. Just take your time to pull that knee into center. And we can just pause, hugging the knees into the chest. You can relax your head down onto your knees if that feels good. Just receive the posture. Notice how the posture has affected the body. Notice any changes. And then when you're ready, we can slowly lift up. We're going to come into a seated twist from here. So you can either take your one leg out. We're going to take, I'll mirror you again. We're going to take the right leg over the left. So if you feel that you can't get both sit bones down on the floor, use a blanket underneath one, or just find a comfortable seat as you are. You can either stay here with one leg out, or you can take your left foot round towards your right hip. And then just realign, so both sit bones again are down on the floor. You want your right foot flat to the floor. And then you can find a long spine as you inhale. As you exhale, bring your right hand behind you to lengthen up the spine, lifting up through the left arm, and as you exhale, hook and twist, or hug the knee in and twist. You can look over the back shoulder and lengthen up through the spine, open up through the heart space, and again, come back to belly breath. So we're going to get a nice compression of the belly to that thigh. And this is going to really help to strengthen the diaphragm muscles as we're breathing and meeting that resistance. If it feels good, you can close down through the eyes and just come to that still point. Notice any wanting to move and shift. Notice how the body is responding to the shape, how the mind is responding to the shape. See if you can drop deeper into the breath, into the witness, into stillness. When we get a glimpse of this witness, this stillness, that's centered in the true self, we start to see the unchanging self. And then we cease to be affected by external polarities of praise or blame, right, wrong, loss, gain. We're stable in our center. Just here for 30 more seconds. 4 rounds of breath. After your next round of breath, on your next inhale, we can slowly de-rotate, bring the hands to the shin as you exhale. Just pause. Keep your eyes closed. And then when you're ready, you can start to slowly open the eyes, lean back to the hands, take the top leg off and the underneath leg out if you took the bind. And then we can go to the opposite side. Taking left leg across. And then you can either stay here with your leg out, or you can take the foot round to the side of the hip. Find both sit bones nice and grounded. Use any props that you might need. Plant that left foot to the floor. Lengthen the spine, open the chest. Take an inhale, twist. Bringing your left hand behind you, lifting up through your right arm. And as you exhale, you can hook and turn deeper, or hug around the thigh and twist. Keep the belly compressed into the thigh, really connecting to the front foot that's grounded, and keep the heart space open. You can close down through the eyes again if that feels good. And just begin to come back to that stable, rhythmic breath, slow and calm. Allow your mind to rest on your infinite nature, on the stillness between the breath. That glimpse of pure tranquility, luminosity, ease and stability. Sthira, Sukham. Just here for another 20 seconds. Taking one more round of breath here on this side. And then with your next inhale, slowly de-rotate, come back through to the center. Keeping the eyes closed, just pause here, holding onto the shin and the knee. And then we can slowly release. Taking the legs out in front. Take a moment just to pause here. You can lean back into the hands or just bring the hands to the thighs. Nice, we come through one last posture before we come to Shavasana. So we're coming into a forward fold. So again, you might want to use your blanket just to lift your hips up, or you might also want a bit of padding behind the back of the knee, maybe even a bolster or some blankets or a pillow. whatever feels good. So just finding the hands next to the hips, find a long spine, push down into the hands and lift up through the chest. Take an inhale and exhale. With your next inhale, we're going to bring the biceps beside the ears. And as you exhale, firm up the legs. As you exhale, forward fold. Compressing the belly towards the thighs. You're going to reach down towards the feet or toward the shins. You can hold around here or you can bring your hands to the floor. With your next inhale, lengthen the spine, lift up through the chest, open up through the chest, relax the shoulders down the back. And as you exhale, see if you can fold a little bit deeper without rounding the spine this time. We're going to find a bit more of a stronger stretch. If your hamstrings are feeling very pulled, just take a little bend into the back of the knees or again support yourself with a prop. Try to find a lengthening through the spine. The chin is tucking toward the chest. Keep it long back of your neck. And we're just breathing here. Again, deep belly breaths. Slow rhythmic breath, balanced breath. Another quote from Patanjali says, by lessening the natural tendency for restlessness and by meditating on the infinite, posture is mastered. Because the senses want to taste many things, we load the system with toxins. Instead, we should control these things. Also, we can achieve steadiness through meditation on the infinite. Anything great, huge, well settled and well established. Tiny things always shake, so we can think of the earth or how steady a huge mountain is. If the body is still, it is easy to make the mind still. Well done, we're just here for another 30 seconds, keeping that stability, that easefulness. Find that still point in this shape. Well done, just taking your last round of breath here. And with your next round of inhale, we can slowly start to lift the spine back up, come into a seated pose, Dandasana, staff pose. Just take a moment here. Nice, and then when you're ready, we can make our way down to Shavasana, so we can take any props that might help you or give you a little bit of extra support. You might want to bring a bolster under the backs of the knees, or just take the feet flat to the mat if you've got anything going on the lower back. Maybe bring in a blanket over you or under the head, maybe a eye pillow, anything that gives you as much comfort as you can. And then just let yourself come down to your back. You can bring your knees into the chest, lift up the tailbone, hugging the knees into the chest, and then you can start to stretch the legs out or feet flat to the mat. And then shuffle down through the shoulders, find a nice big bit of space through the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the upper back. And taking the arms either out to the side, or you can rest your hands onto your body, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then take an inhale here. As you exhale, start to relax the body, relax the muscles, maybe take a sigh out if that feels good for you. Closing down the eyes. And just letting yourself come into a still space here. Coming back into abdominal breathing here. We're going to just finish a few rounds of breath here. Focusing on a deep belly breath. This time try to breathe in a 1 to 2 ratio. So you're inhaling maybe for 4 and exhaling for 6 or 8. Just slowing the breath right down and telling the body to come into a deeper space of calming down, accessing the parasympathetic nervous system, allowing yourself to go into a deeper space of relaxation, of rest and nourishment. The thought that you are doing something is the thought that is poisoning your life. Because once you think that you are doing something, you will start to think that you need to be doing something else to put yourself in a better situation. You don't have to do anything to experience the nectar of the self. All you need to do is drop the idea that you are doing anything at all. When you abide as the self, there is no one left to choose and decide. Life goes on automatically. You will pick up the things that are needed and not pick up the things that are not needed. What you pick up and what you don't pick up will not be a consequence of what you like or dislike. These preferences will not be there anymore. This perspective will be yours when you give up or cease to believe the idea that I am different from the world. Giving up on this thought is a great sadhana, self-practice in itself, because abandoning this false idea will be enough to give you peace. When thought is there, the world seems to be full of good people and bad people, all busily engaged in doing what appear to you to be good things and bad things. When the thought is absent, you know them all to be your own self. In that state, you won't then like them, dislike them, or judge them, or be aware of them as being other than your own self. This absence of likes, dislikes, and judgments will leave you in your own natural state of peace. Annamalai Swami. So you can gradually start to bring some movement into the body, take in some wiggles through the fingers, through the toes, some stretches, some lengthening. And then when you're ready, just roll to your side. We're going to make our way up to a seat. Just take your time, pause on your side, take a few breaths. Let yourself come back into movement, into awareness. And then when you're ready, making your way up to a comfortable seat. Again, you might want to lift your hips up. We're just going to finish with some alternate nostril breathing, just to help balance and stabilize both energies again. So masculine, feminine energies balanced through this alternate nostril breathing. We're going to do just a very simple version of it. Literally just breathing in through the left side and out through the right, and then in through the right and out through the left. And we can take the mudra, take in either the middle and index finger to the palm, and then we're going to use the ring and the thumb to close the nostrils off. And if you place the fingers just at the tip where the cartilage meets the bone, and it's a very gentle pressure, so it's not too harsh, it's a very soft feeling. Or you can take those two fingers that are tucked into the third eye point if that's more comfortable to rest there. So just taking the hand, the left or right hand down to the knee and the dominant hand up to the face. Just take an inhale through both nostrils and an exhale through both nostrils. Preparing, we're going to close the right inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. Keeping the eyes closed, looking up toward the third eye. Inhale through the right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. Inhale left, keep going like that. In your own time, your own pace, and try to get the breath really even, really balanced on your in and exhales and on both sides. So if it feels good to start taking a slightly longer breath, you can come to a slightly longer, slower breath. maybe a 6 to 8 count, just intuitively sensing that, or staying at a 4-4 if that's more comfortable. Inhale through one side, exhale through the other. Inhale through that same side and exhale out the other. So we're using this alternate nostril then to start moving into the pranic body. So we've balanced the physical body. We're then moving into the more subtler energies of the pranic field, which is your energy, your life force. So as we move through the physical, when we start to harness the shape and the energy of the physical body, we can then start to harness and shape and direct the pranic and the life force. And this is then building us up closer toward the third eye point into more meditative spaces, and where we can start to then direct the mind and pull the mind into a more stable and easeful space. And then that's when we find the real power and the real benefit of why we practice yoga. We're just going to do about 4 more rounds, 2 each side. Just take your time. Keep the breath very balanced, very stable, nice and comfortable rhythm. And then once you've finished your last round, you can slowly bring the hands down to the knees, keeping the eyes closed. And just taking a moment to really bring in that energy of the breath work into the core, breathing into the navel point. Seeing your center of balance. Visualizing your energy systems running up and down the spine, balanced and harmonized, both masculine and feminine energies. And feeling yourself as this midpoint in the central channel of your body that runs through the spine, connecting you from root to crown, from earth to sky. Bringing your awareness to any changes to the body, the physical, emotional, mental bodies. And then again, bringing your hands into prayer, resting the thumbs onto your heart space, connecting back both sides, masculine, feminine energies through your hands at the heart point. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, bow your head down in gratitude to yourself, the wonderful and amazing teachings of yoga. And may we lead forward in our lives with stability and ease in all that we do, and bringing this to the world around us to find balance, harmony, and luminosity, our natural state of harmonious balance, effortlessness, stability, and ease. Namaste.